All right, everybody, good morning. We've got an action-packed kind of day in the crypto world and the stock world. Never a dull moment, at least in 2018. So here on SPY, we have an all-out dump due to data pre-market and a really nice entry opportunity. I've already flipped SPXL because the 5-minute RSI was almost in single digits. So I'll take it with a clean slate from the open. Obviously, the bears have a lot of momentum, but it looks like we're going to be starting today in our daily equilibrium, or I should say our daily inside bar. So 263.31 is the low of yesterday. That's the key support. If that breaks, it's a bear break. The bears obviously have momentum. Like I said, it's going to take a lot of proving for the bulls to recover from this. And we have all 5-minute moving averages as resistance. This definitely shifts a bearish tone on the day. And this is a potential bear flag on the 5-minute time frame. So the hourly chart lost the higher low patterns, and that low breaking 263.31 pre-market is definitely notable. So again, this definitely gives us a bearish shift in our perspective, and we're looking at the top of this bounce will be resistance as we head into the open. I'll check back in on SPY here as a lot's going to change over the next 30 minutes as we do head into the open, but it's all about the daily inside bar, and it's likely to see a bear break. So here's that daily inside bar. If we see a bear break, we will be looking down at 261.66 as our next support, and that will be more convincing that our lower high on the daily is in, and then the bulls will have to form a higher low somewhere down, perhaps even in the upper 250s. So the bears have momentum, and we'll see how we break this inside bar. Checking in on commodities, we've got the dollar is trying to form its higher low on the daily time frame, and it reacted bullish to the data pre-market. Let's look at the 5-minute. So look at that spike, now healthy consolidation. So here on the daily chart, our higher low is now 89.38, and the bulls are looking to make their way back to the recent high of 90.57 to try and follow through with a higher low and higher high. Gold is forming a daily bearish reversal candlestick, the 5-minute time frame saw an all-out dump. It's trying to bounce at this point, but clearly the news this morning, bearish markets, bullish dollar, bearish commodities that are inverse to the dollar. That's essentially the setup that we have. And here on the daily chart, that spinning top is a lower high now on the daily chart, 1336.82 for gold. Oil saw a dump as well with the dollar strength. So oil dumped down to a lower low on the hourly time frame and the 4-hour as well. So the daily chart does not have a bounce going yet, and we're testing this key must-hold support in the short term, 58.06. Bulls are trying to establish that level as a base of support. We have the inventory report in an hour and a half, and we can be looking at a potential bottom fishing play with 58.06, but certainly going to get some volatility with that inventory report. Natural gas dumped down to lower lows here on the hourly. The daily chart still trying to bounce on natural gas, and we got a little weak bounce. It's a potential bear flag, and we're heading down to our recent low of 2538. So it looks like bullish dollar is reacting bearish to all of these commodities here first thing this morning. Cryptocurrency, congrats bulls, explosion to the upside overnight. This was the tight range breaking that we were looking for. So Bitcoin now has a daily higher low and higher high, and we have our sights set on 10,000 psychological resistance as the next level. Ethereum on the daily chart has not broken to a higher high yet. It is a laggard in that regard. 909 is the level to break, and we haven't broken that yet, so that is notable. Ethereum is lagging behind on the daily chart, and of course Litecoin, no words for Litecoin. Bulls saw a 35-40% move last night. Huge explosion to the upside. This is what we remember from back at last summer. It gave us all a taste of the good old days, and it's really nice to see that this can still happen where we have in 16 hours a 35% move. So huge gains to be had, but we are pulling back now. Bearish reversal candlestick on the 15-minute, and we're looking to establish a new 15-minute higher low. Anything above 192 is a higher low, so that's certainly to be expected at this point. Hourly chart looking for a higher low of consolidation, and the 4-hour chart certainly due for consolidation as well with the RSI over 80. So we don't want to be chasing here. I personally am in Bitcoin from last night, and I will be holding longer term, and I will probably wait for hourly consolidation, and then once Bitcoin establishes that hourly base of support and new higher low, I will then use that level as my stop. So at this point, my stop loss is way down from my original entry in the mid 8,000s, so not going to move that until we establish a new level of support here on the hourly time frame. The weekly charts for crypto is confirming the bullish reversal candlesticks from last week, and the Litecoin bulls are going to see a big increase in volume this week. So essentially, best case scenario for the bulls heading into today and proving themselves on the daily time frame and proving themselves on the shorter term time frames as well. So lots of volatility in the crypto space, lots of volatility in SPY. That's where I'm going to be focused on trading. Canadian MJ, it never stops. WEED sector leader had earnings today. So the bulls are trying to see a bullish reaction to those earnings. I highlighted the daily ranges in the video last night that I'm watching. I'm watching for a break of one of those ranges before I'm interested in the Canadian MJ space. And from here, that's what I've got all my eyes on. So still watching SPXS and SPXL for SPY volatility. The biotech sector has had great volatility for LABU and LABD, its inverse names, and certainly going to be watching multiple names that have inside bars today. We'll have to see how we are going to set up, but names like NVDA on the daily chart had multiple daily inside bars to be watching, 2 in a row here. So we'll be watching for a break there, and also going to be watching CMG after the gap up open that's coming from its reaction to the new CEO. So you could have 8 eyes and still not be watching everything that's going on today in the market. So it's important not to get overwhelmed. Focus on what you want to, keep your eye on, and then execute trades based on that, and don't worry about what's going on in other places. Otherwise you're going to be scrambling around trying to capture all the moves everywhere, which we know we certainly can't do. So SPY still is bouncing at this point, and those lows from SPXL seeing some really nice action to the upside. So let's get into it with 5-minute and hourly setups. And we'll start it off. Netflix is getting a bunch of upgrades. Let's see. I want to check in on Netflix first. Had a really strong pre-market, but obviously the market bearish action. Still in control for Netflix. So let's see if the Netflix bulls are going to stand out today. High of yesterday was 261.41, so we're still seeing a small gap up open. And key resistance is 272.45 on the daily time frame for Netflix. MU on the daily chart dumping down with the SPY weakness down at the low pre-market. Just another lower high on the daily time frame at this point. 41.98 was the low of yesterday, so a gap down open is coming. That increases the odds that we just established a new daily lower high with the high of yesterday of 42.92. So next support that I'm looking at is going to be down at 40.88, which is the low of Monday. That's the next support level here on MU as we are seeing weakness. 5-minute RSI close to oversold. Hourly RSI is at 39 and not yet oversold, and the bulls are trying to hold their last hourly moving average support of 41.81. ACB, so again, all the details are in the video from last night, but I'm watching the daily range. I don't care about ACB as long as we're within a range of 1050 support and 1171 resistance. I call that no man's land or no woman's land where we stand right now, because there is indecision and a lack of trading opportunity and a lack of volatility. So I'm waiting for a bear break of 1050 or a bull break of 1171 before I am personally interested in the Canadian MJ space again. Of course, we can watch the range of yesterday, a break of 1133, and we'll be looking up at 1171, but one step at a time. Bulls have to prove themselves, and right now we are in a period of indecision for the Canadian MJ space. Baidu. So Baidu had reaction to earnings last night. It was a bullish reaction, and resistance. Let's see, we're gapping up pretty big at this point. There's a gap on the daily at 239.37, and then I'm looking at resistance of 248.23. Support is the low of pre-market down at 235, and resistance is 240.67 and 243 after that. So definitely some resistances from pre-market, but the bulls are still holding on with a gap up open. We know about that 20-period 5-minute moving average. If it is not support when we open on a gap up, we have to be watching for profit taking, and 235 is a very important support level. It's held 3 times now, so 235 breaking, and we should see further gap fill. CMG. Key support pre-market is 276.53, the hourly time frame. Very healthy consolidation, so it is a potential bull flag on the hourly we have to be cautious of. And it's all about the 20-period 5-minute being tested. If we can have that as support, we will look for continuation. 282.50 is the high of pre-market resistance. If we cannot get over this level, and if we break 276.53, then we will see some profit taking and some gap fill at the open. JCP. JCP. So still lower highs on the daily time frame. 362 is resistance, and then I'm looking up at 373. As far as supports that the bulls need to hold, the hourly time frame, higher lows is a clear pattern, and it will be a clear bear break of that pattern if we lose the low of yesterday, 342. So 342 is the must-hold support, and 362 and 373 are the key resistances. And still not very confident in this daily chart just yet. There are some supports built, but it's still a lower high, lower low pattern, as the low of, let's see, Friday was a lower low. The bulls still have proving to do on JCP. AGN. AGN still weak. The low of yesterday, 156.11. So going to test that level. If 156.11 holds, the bulls will attempt a daily inside bar. That's their only hope at this point. And if we break that level, we continue falling in free fall, as the bears have been in complete control for the last 3 weeks. Hourly RSI on AGN is right back down to 30. So if we do break that low of yesterday, we will be oversold on the hourly again. Facebook bouncing with SPY. Again, with all that volatility pre-market, we're going to see a lot of strong correlations between individual names in the overall market. The low of yesterday for Facebook was 173.10. It was a daily inside bar. A break of 173.10 is bearish, and a break of 175.97 is bullish. So we're obviously much closer to a bear break than we are to a bull break, and we're about to back test these 5-minute moving average resistances. And we're going to have some key levels here from pre-market heading into the open on a lot of individual names. The low of pre-market, which will be the correlating with the low of the dump on SPY, is key support. And we are going to top out on this bounce eventually, and the top of this bounce will be a key resistance. And that's the range that we're going to be watching heading into the open this morning. THCX. So some sell-off at the end of the day yesterday, a big upper wick of profit taking, rejecting from the daily middle Bollinger Band resistance. I'm looking at support of 387 and 380. And resistance is going to be 398 and 407. Those are the levels that we're looking at. And the bulls tried to make a clear bull break on the daily chart, and we did get a higher high by a few pennies, but unable to follow through and close strong after that move. Apple, or actually WEED. Haven't read the earnings, and personally, I don't care what earnings say. I care how the market reacts to earnings. That's all I care about when earnings are in play. So how the market reacts to earnings, we'll see where we open, but right now it's looking like a bullish open, a significant gap up. I do expect some profit taking on that gap up. I'm looking at MJ, the ETF here, and not really seeing a strong open. So have to be cautious for some profit taking. The key resistance, 29.50 is the level where that's my no man's land, where if it doesn't break 29.50, I'm not interested in the bulls. So that's the key resistance test first thing. And with the gap up open, we'll be watching to see, can the bulls, we'll have that same, excuse me, the same scenario where we establish a key support level in the first 10 minutes of trading or so, and that low of the day needs to hold for the bulls from there to prevent from filling the gap and seeing profit taking. So the higher we open, the more likely we're going to see some profit taking. We'll have to see where we are positioned to open in about 10 minutes from now. Apple. So Apple on the daily time frame has been a lead tech bull on this bounce recovery. 164.75 was the high of yesterday, so we're seeing a lower open. And support is going to be down at the low of pre-market, 161.79, and the low of yesterday was 161.75. So low of pre-market and low of yesterday are lining pretty close to each other. Same thing, we're going to be looking at the back test of 5-minute moving average resistances. We're going to be looking for a lower high to be set on this bounce, potentially before we see the open. That will give us a resistance level, but right now key support is 161.79 as the bulls try and see recovery. Facebook was one of the, actually I already did Facebook, but it's one of the weaker tech names and heading back down towards its low of pre-market. Amazon, one of the stronger tech names, holding on pretty well, still keeping the 200 period 5-minute moving average as support. 14.20 was the high of yesterday, rounding a little bit. Hourly support on Amazon, 20 period being tested, and bulls want to hold that level of 14.05. And we also held the higher low on the hourly still. 14.99 was the higher low, or I should say 13.99, and we held 14 at the low pre-market. So bulls are still strong on Amazon at this point. A break of 13.99 will begin to shift the hourly chart and lose those higher lows. XL, inside bar on the daily time frame, 41.38 break is bearish, 42.10 break is bullish. After 42.10, we're going to look at 42.12 and 42.27. So bulls certainly in favor, and just need to see a break of the high of yesterday to get some follow through and continue holding the daily exponential supports to keep those bulls in full control. OSTK, high of yesterday 57.75, and the low of yesterday was 54, so we're closer to a bull break than a bear break, and we were set for a gap up open before that weakness pre-market. So 57.75, key level of resistance. The high of the bounce at this point is 60.80. That's the level the bulls need to break to prove themselves. If we don't break 60.80, then we're not looking extremely strong. So that's the level that the bulls need to break on the daily chart. And if we lose the 100-day moving average support and continue to reject from these daily exponential resistances as we have for 5 days in a row, then the bears will take back over. But we're still well above the low of yesterday. So bulls are liking the positioning with regards to the low of yesterday. And we'll see if we can break 57.75 for some bullish continuation. HIMX. HIMX, bulls bought the gap down open yesterday and closed at the high of the day. 836 is key resistance, but we're seeing a lower open today. Key support is 750 and 740. Bears still have the upper hand. The daily chart is nothing but lower highs and lower lows still. And a setback here with this market weakness. So step number one for the bulls to try and change this trend is breaking 836. And we are currently about 4.5% from that level. MSFT. So weakness here, the low pre-market support is 87.90. The high of the bounce attempt is 88.70. We're within that range right now. And we're looking at the potential. Well, we're going to open right in the middle of yesterday's range as well. So bulls still holding on, but we have a little pre-market range to be watching. If we break to a higher high on the bounce recovery, we look to 5-minute moving average resistances. And if we break the low pre-market, we look to the low of yesterday of 87.39. For Litecoin, definitely a top fishing play setting up. And we've already pulled back a solid 5% from the high. So I would say, yes, definitely looking for hourly consolidation, looking for 4-hour consolidation, and a top fishing play with a stop loss protecting, and then moving it down to a break-even stop loss could be a solid play on Litecoin today. And obviously have to use a stop loss for Litecoin with the kind of bullish strength that we have seen. Tesla. So Tesla closed at the high of the day yesterday up at 324.19. We have pulled back. The low pre-market support is 319. The high of the bounce is 321.75. That's the range to be watching. If we can see continuation on this bounce, we're looking at the high of yesterday of 324.19 as the next key resistance. So again, the importance of the pre-market range established on this dump and bounce attempt on the 5-minute timeframes on individual names are going to be the most important short-term levels that we're watching. And then from there, once we get a break of those levels, we'll zoom out to the daily chart and get our next levels based on that daily chart. MARA. So the market setup for the blockchain names was certainly much more favorable when we had blockchain, or I should say crypto looking great, and the market bulls were set for a gap up open. But this changes things now with bearish market sentiment, where again, I keep saying my ideal scenario for playing blockchain names is when the market and the crypto market are going in the same direction. And that's not the case right now with this SPY weakness. So MARA is in an equilibrium pattern on the daily time frame, 240 support, 253 resistance. So we're looking to break that high of yesterday first thing. 264 and 289 are the next two key levels. Breaking 264 is step number one for the bulls, as we have been rejecting from daily exponential resistance at this point, what feels like months and months, and it has been a couple months. So MARA is close to breaking this daily equilibrium that's been setting up over the last 6 days, but we have to see a break at 264 first. GROW. 100-day moving average resistance, rejecting the price 3 out of the last 5 days. That level is going to be at about 345 today. And the high of yesterday was 349. So the daily middle Bollinger Band and the 100-day moving average resistance are pretty much going to line up at the same level. So bulls need to close over those moving averages to try and shift momentum in their favor. We have broken the daily lower high pattern, but it's also coming from a daily lower low. So we do not have a higher low and higher high yet. which is what the daily chart needs to begin shifting this momentum in favor of the bulls. So key 100-day moving average resistance to be watching for the bulls to close over. Momo. So Momo on the daily chart, upper wick of profit taking yesterday from 29.19, and support is 27.73, the low of yesterday. So we're closer to a bear break than a bull break. If we break 27.73, we're looking down at the 50-day moving average, which is going to be in the 26.80s. So it's all about that low of yesterday needing to hold, and we're down near the low of pre-market with all 5-minute moving averages as resistance. So starting the morning with a bit of a bearish lean on any name that has all 5-minute moving averages as resistance, that will be the case. PATV, bulls in control at the end of the day yesterday. Nice bull break of the daily inside bar. Resistance is 194 and 199. So a break of 199, and that will show significant follow through on this daily chart and a bull break of the equilibrium pattern that has been setting up over the last week. So bulls just want to continue that momentum that they had in the second half of trading, or I should say the last 2 hours of trading yesterday, and have to break the high of yesterday first thing to get that follow through. So JNUG bouncing, gold seeing a solid bounce from that initial dump, but JNUG on the daily time frame is coming right off the low, so the daily chart is expected to form a lower high. So we're going to look for a lower high on the daily chart to form, and losing the hourly high or low pattern will be the first indication that perhaps our lower high on the daily has been set and the bears are going to take control again a bit. So we have already lost the hourly high or low. I was looking at support of 1339 and the low of pre-market is 1326. So there is going to be volatility in these miners today. We do have 5-minute moving average resistances that the bull miners are going to have to get back over and turn all 5-minute moving averages back into support, where we have JDST backtesting 5-minute moving averages as support and currently holding them. So as long as JDST holds those 5-minute moving average supports, they will remain in control, the bear miners. And if we switch, and if JDST loses all 5-minute moving averages and the bulls gain them, that will be a notable switch in momentum going back to the bulls. But don't lose sight of the daily chart of these bull miners. They are definitely weak overall. And at this point, this is just a short-term bounce and not going to do anything to change the daily trend anytime soon. Twitter is seeing weakness with the 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance all pre-market. After a strong close yesterday up at the high of the day, we are seeing a significant lower open. Update the daily upper Bollinger Band at the open. If we close below that level, we're going to look for some profit taking after being in breakout mode for 4 days in a row. Hourly 20-period moving average support being tested. That's at 32.81. And if we lose that level, we're looking down at the low of yesterday. So 32.81 and then 30.64 are the two support levels to be watching. And we're down near the lows of pre-market, and we have all 5-minute moving averages as resistance. So again, another name that has to start turning 5-minute moving averages into support to shift momentum back in favor of the bulls. I am still looking at SPXL and SPSX today. This pre-market data is definitely going to give us some nice volatility, and also cryptocurrency, definitely a lot of attention with all the bull breaks that we are seeing in that space as well. HIVE. So a weak close yesterday for Hive. The daily chart is an equilibrium pattern that's favoring the bears at this point. 178 is must hold support and resistance is 205. That's the range that we're watching right now. And we're closer to 178 than we are to 205, which is why the bears are in favor. So a weak close yesterday. We'll see if the bulls can form a higher low compared to 178. And they'll have to get over 205 to shift this momentum in favor of the bulls. Checking back in on SPY. So SPY resistance is the high of the bounce. That's up at 264.82. And key support is the low of the dump, 262.62. And also the low of yesterday is important because that would give us a daily inside bar bear break if it breaks in the low 263s. So Netflix is still opening strong NVDA is trying to claw back as well. We're watching lots of, well, not lots, but there's a few daily inside bars to be watching out there. NVDA is certainly one of them with multiple daily inside bars in a row. Canadian MJ still holding up with a higher open. WEED looking for about a 7% gap up open, a little less, maybe 6%. Higher open, I should say. And the question will be for Canadian MJ, can the bulls hold on to those gains, or do we see profit taking and form just another lower high compared to 29.50 key resistance? So again, my game plan for Bitcoin is to wait for an hourly higher low to be established and then put my stop loss, move it up under that level. The hourly chart is due for some healthy consolidation. And just don't want to see increasing bear volume on that consolidation. Again, notable that ETH has not made a bull break on the daily time frame yet. Litecoin will be watching $200 psychological support on a back test as the 15-minute chart is seeing healthy consolidation. And the hourly chart for Litecoin is likely to form an inside bar, though still 35 minutes left to go. Oil inventory report will be interesting today. Again, I like that setup on the daily chart for oil bottom fishing play with 58.06 support. But have to be cautious of that knee-jerk reaction when the inventory report comes out, because that certainly has been known to trigger stop losses one way or the other and then completely turn around. TEVA. Weak pre-market, the low pre-market support is 1826. I'm looking at resistance of 1839 and 1854. Daily chart for TEVA. Just lower highs every bounce attempt. Low of yesterday, 1836. We're testing that first thing. Daily support, the only support in sight is 1775. The daily chart has to form a higher low and a higher high to change this momentum. It's been nothing but lower highs and lower lows for the past month. XRP USD hasn't seen the bull break that the overall market is seeing with Bitcoin. So still tight. The bulls are trying to see a break, but I've got resistance of 108. We rejected from 106. So it's 108, and then we're looking up at 123, but definitely seeing attention on the big three and not much attention on Ripple this morning. And WEED is not really budging much in terms of this pre-market bid and ask. All right, let's do it. SPY 5-minute higher low support established here at 263.80, and we're looking at the high of the bounce resistance, 264.82, and the 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance will be right after that level. And if you were looking for day trading in crypto, it's definitely Litecoin in terms of the volatility. And that's why I chose Bitcoin overnight, is because I wanted to skip some of that volatility with a larger position If I'm in a full position in Litecoin, I have to be watching, just because the fluctuations are so significant in terms of percentage gains and losses. So a decent mix of red and green on the screen. Netflix and Baidu and CMG are the lead bulls. Checking in on CMG and that 20-period 5-minute moving average, it is currently support. WEED is seeing a little bit of profit taking, not a lot at this point. We'll see once we get a low of the day established. Again, 29.50 is the key WEED resistance for me. And a break of 27.94 would be bearish on WEED at this point. That would tell us that further profit taking is coming. That's the level the bulls want to hold ideally. Blockchain names are seeing a little bit of follow through. Grows up a few percent. Riot's up 6%, 7%. And checking back in on SPY, we're seeing follow through on this bounce now with a higher low and a higher high. We got the 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance being tested. That's at 265.03. And if we cannot get over and close over this 20-period 5-minute moving average, and if we lose the 5-minute higher lows off of that rejection, then we know the bears still have control of SPY. WEED did set a new low of the day, not significantly, but we're definitely seeing a little bit more profit taking now. Looks like there's not a lot of bid support either. Unlikely that WEED will pull all the way back down to fill the gap today. Gap, well, I take that back. We're going to fill the gap, 27.47. I thought the high of yesterday was lower than that. So gap just filled just like that. ACB's in the red, so a sell the news and profit taking start first thing for WEED, and it's just another lower high and a tightening daily pattern at this point. So SPY's still battling. 20-period 5-minute moving average. Baidu bulls are up at the high with some strong follow through. And Netflix, with that news reaction this morning, is definitely standing out as a lead bull. And we have the CMG bulls trying for continuation as they are holding the 20-period 5-minute moving average as support. SPY, nice continuation for the bulls up at the high of the day. So now we shift our focus on the next 5-minute moving average resistance, 265.81. And big time gains for the bulls off of the lows of pre-market. But here we are now. SPY is right in the middle of our daily inside bar. 266.62 is the resistance to break for the bulls. And 263.31 is the support to hold. So closer to a bull break than a bear break where we currently stand, but I would be surprised if the bulls break that level this morning. Maybe this afternoon they'll be able to. THCX. Not a whole lot going on at all. Low of yesterday, 1809. Wrong chart. Low of yesterday was 380. So a solid open. like we had a gap up open. So nice continuation for the bulls. The goal is to close over the daily middle Bollinger Band of 413 today. It looks like we had a solid gap up, and the bulls are holding that at this point. The gap will fill at 417. That has not happened yet. But there is not a whole lot going on this 5-minute chart to give us any information. Bulls just want to hold the low of the day, ideally. Keeping an eye out for WEED. Again, don't forget the market correlation. If the SPY bulls do continue their recovery, then WEED could make our way back to the high of the day. But the range is very clear right now. 27.32 support, 28.31 resistance, and we'll see if we get shorter term time frames forming an equilibrium pattern on WEED this morning. But the market bounce continuing right now is definitely favoring the Canadian MJ sector. And right now, the biggest discrepancy in the sectors is the financial sector up 0.3%, 0.4%, and we've got the tech sector down 0.1%. So it is the tech sector showing the strength this morning. CMG bulls seeing continuation with the 20-period 5-minute moving average support. Those bulls are going for the gap fill on CMG. Would be surprised if we get there today, but that gap fill is 293.55. So we do have a tightening range on WEED. They just formed a lower high. I would be using the 2-minute time frame for some more details there. SPY bulls, anything above 263.80 will be a higher low on the 5-minute time frame. And that's all the bulls are hoping for this morning, is to keep the 5-minute higher low pattern. So new support on Litecoin is 203.70. Still watching 15-minute higher lows. It's going to require a lower high and a lower low on the 15-minute for consolidation on the hourly and 4-hour time frame to begin. And Bitcoin new support on the 15-minute is 9,145. And for Ethereum, that support is 878.50. And the strength for the big three is clear. Litecoin lead bull, Bitcoin, and then Ethereum is the weakest of the three. BCH USD, the bulls are definitely in control and breaking bullish on the 4-hour time frame from a tightening pattern. The daily chart has not broken bullish yet. Have to break 1388 to break bullish on the daily. Litecoin and Bitcoin have already done it. Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash have not. So the bulls are closing in on that resistance, but we do not have the daily higher low and higher high yet. ECS.TO. Bouncing from a gap down open. The gap will fill at 139. And key support on the daily of 131 broke, so we broke all kinds of support. So lower lows on the daily today. Keeping the bears in control as they have been all of 2018. And support after 118 is down at 120 was a key level. After 118 is 112. Facebook bulls responding well. They were the weakest yesterday and trying to make up some of that recovery today. Inside bar on the daily time frame for Facebook is still holding. We held the low of yesterday by 11 cents. And the high is 175.97. So Facebook is still a perfect daily inside bar for the second day in a row at this point. I assume it's there we go, PATV. So key resistance on the daily, 194 broke. Next level was 199 that has not broken. And bulls need to hold the low of the day and establish a new higher low. The goal for the bulls is to break 199. But definitely a bullish start to the day by getting over the high of yesterday first thing. The SPY bulls are still showing some strength on this bounce. We have not slowed down this nice little higher low, higher high pattern since the bottom pre-market. And we are still well within our daily inside bar here as well. I'm going to put a partial stop loss on Bitcoin below the high that we just formed, or I should say below the higher low that we just formed. So now the tech sector's at the high of the day and trying to go green as well on this bounce attempt. Amazon just made it to the green, as did Google. But one by one, the bulls poking their heads out here this morning. Biotech sector trying to go green. And Tesla and PCLN are standing out as some of the only major red names on my screen right now. Checking in on WEED shorter term time frames. Let's check out the equilibrium pattern on the 2-minute. Right now we just formed a higher low. So support is 27.51 and resistance is 28.20. Perfect 2-minute equilibrium pattern to be watching on WEED. Our EGN is all bear on big bear volume, and the low of the dump 314.99 is the only support here. Honestly, I'm looking for this bounce on SPY to fade a bit. If I were looking for an entry, I would be having a bit of a bearish lean and watching to see if we lose these 5-minute higher lows. And that's just because we've been bouncing now for over an hour. And I would expect a 5-minute equilibrium. I would expect a top of the bounce to be set, and then I would expect to pull back and form a higher low compared to the low of the dump. So if we break 264.65, which we just did by a couple pennies, the next level we're looking down at is 263.80. But bull's still holding on at this point. It's still a bit of indecision. The last 15 minutes is just straight across sideways trading. So no harm in being patient. TCW.TO. So 357 is the key resistance. And it's a potential top fishing play with that level. Not really any sign of weakness at this point. But we do know that a lower high on the daily is likely to set sooner rather than later. As far as the significance of the S&P 500 5-period moving average, I suggest asking that analyst that it came from why it's important to them. So SPY still establishing some support here in 264.60 range the last 15 minutes. We've bounced off 264.57, 65, 62. NVDA all bull from the open. Inside bar bull break happened at 234.50, and we're getting that follow through now. Next resistance is the high of the bounce, 238.89. Big time lead bull. And nice follow through from the daily inside bar break so far. Baidu is extremely strong as well. Let's see if the bulls are holding those gains. And they're potentially, a new low of the day on Baidu would be a red flag, as we would see some profit taking. As we look at CMG bulls still maintaining their 20-period 5-minute support. Shop also on fire, similar to NVDA. And key resistance, 130.42 and 131.16 are the only two resistances here. We held the low of yesterday. Actually, we broke that low of yesterday only by 9 or 11 cents. But heading up towards the high of yesterday, resistance. AGN 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance rejected the high of the day, and we're testing it again. Low of yesterday, we broke it by 11 cents, but that's close enough to be a double bottom. So AGN trying for the daily double bottom and turnaround. SPY bulls still in control of the bounce at this point. Resistance is the high of the day, and then 265.84 after that. And at this point, our new 5-minute higher low is 264.57. So if in a bullish position, 264.57 breaking would be a red flag. Facebook healthy consolidation, back testing 5-minute moving average supports after an initial bullish first 5-minute candlestick, but we rejected from that high of yesterday by pennies. By 10 cents we rejected. So we held the low of yesterday by pennies, and we rejected from the high by pennies. So a clear daily inside bar is going to form unless we see a new high of the day or a new low of the day, which is certainly possible. Checking back in on this WEED 2-minute equilibrium, still forming. And the tightest range I would be using would be 27.51 and 27.90. Bulls won't be out of the woods and in the clear if they break 27.90, but that will have us looking up at 28.20, the next resistance. And that is right. Canadian MJ is definitely still in a tight daily range. So SPY at a new high of the day. We're now testing 5-minute moving average resistances. 200 period is 265.84, and the most important resistance level for me is the high of yesterday and the high of our daily inside bar, 266.62. So SPY bulls keeping control. We've got the tech sector up at the highs, the biotech, financial sector. And again, yet again today, the biotech sector was one of the weakest names to start the day, and now it's the biggest percentage gainer. The biotech volatility is unmatched by any other sector that I watch. LABU and LABD really benefiting from that action. And if the SPY bulls were to make their way up to the high of yesterday without much consolidation, then I would definitely be looking for a top fishing play with that resistance level. Hourly time frame, the bulls defended the hourly 100 period moving average, and we're likely to see an hourly inside bar fitting within the large hourly candlestick from that dump. Bull break on WEED. Now we're just watching 28.20 and 28.31. We'll see if we can get a new high of the day. Again, still benefiting from market strength. CMG Bulls still going. Love that 20 period 5-minute moving average guide on the gaps. It held easily. It hasn't even been tested, showing that the Bulls have kept their momentum and strength. So SPY is testing the 200 period 5-minute moving average resistance. Tesla trying to join the green party. Now it's just Lonely Apple and PCLN and SPY. Nice bull break on WEED and new high of the day. Nice follow through from the 2-minute equilibrium. All about 29.50 now. WEED, definitely a high 5-minute RSI to be aware of due to the gap up open. It's definitely more tricky with the RSI on Canadian MJ with these gaps because obviously they're artificial opens in the sense that we don't have any trading action to dictate these opens. So we just start the day with RSI extremely overbought due to the gap up. Whereas if you look at a normal stock that has pre-market trading, that RSI cools off even with gap up opens in the short term with just sideways trading. So I can disregard it in Canadian MJ a little bit more than I can in other conditions. So SPY rejecting from that 200 period 5-minute resistance. We're looking to form another 5-minute higher low. Anything above 264.57 will do it. Stop loss still hasn't triggered in Bitcoin. We've got Litecoin heading back down to $200 psychological support. And this is the highest volume of consolidation on the 15-minute time frame for Litecoin that we've seen since the breakout. So pretty confident saying the high of day is in for Litecoin for the foreseeable future. And we'll watch for a 15-minute equilibrium pattern to play out. CMG is going for that gap fill. It's been all bull since the open. Oil inventory report is a half an hour away. We're still hovering above support of 58.06. Not a whole lot going on. NVDA, after that extremely bullish start, established a higher low on the 5-minute time frame of 234.71. Still very strong on NVDA at this point. CMG RSI at this point is a bit out the window. Number one, because we're filling a gap to the upside. And number two, because we have the bullish news driving this move and definitely squeezing shorts. CMG was in a clear bearish pattern on the daily and weekly, dumping down, and they all got stuck. It was definitely a short squeeze. 5-minute RSI is 79, hourly RSI is 81. So we'll see if we get some weakness after filling that daily gap, but it has been all bulls since the open. So SPY pulling back, still hasn't established a 5-minute higher low yet on this current pullback. So CMG is real close to filling that gap, but not there just yet. And that SPY support level again is 264.57. It's looking like the SPY bulls are trying to form this new 5-minute higher low at 264.89 now. NVDA high of the day test, 234.71, now the key support there. Nice continuation on NVDA with that higher high. Biotech sector now up almost 1%, while the other sectors are not even up 0.2%. We're likely to see a SPY little tightening pattern on the 5-minute time frame play out a bit. That should give us a clear break. Let's see if we form a lower high compared to the high of the day and tighten up for the next 15 minutes or so. Facebook on the weekly chart, inside bar, pretty much a guarantee. And we're under the weekly middle Bollinger Band. As long as that weekly middle Bollinger Band is resistance, it is notable as it was support for so long and it held so many tests, and we have not back tested it yet. That's up at 179.24. So we have a weekly inside bar to be watching, and as long as that weekly middle Bollinger Band is resistance, the bulls still have some proving to do to regain that level. Here's SPY testing the high of the day. Very bullish SPY break, so no equilibrium pattern. You see the increase in 5-minute bull volume with the new high of the day. So it's all about this daily inside bar now on SPY and that level. Let's see, it just broke. So inside bar daily bull break. So the bulls are proving a very solid bounce at this point. And resistance is the high from before the data, 267.40. Last 5-minute higher low was 264.89, so we will likely need to form a higher low compared to that level in the near-term future. And if we do not break 267.40, which is the high of pre-market, then we will be looking at an hourly inside bar. So second candlestick this morning, JDST, the bear miners lost all 5-minute moving averages as support, and the bull miners gained them all as support. And that's a very significant gold turnaround. An all-out dump on the data, and now up at the highs. So the bull miners are benefiting so much because the market bulls are strong and the gold bulls are strong at the same time. And let's see if the dollar is dumping. And it is. So a complete turnaround. So when the data came out, the market dumped, the dollar shot up, and gold dumped. And here we are, 45 minutes after the open. The market has recovered. The dollar is dumping, and gold has recovered. So a complete 180 turnaround from the initial sentiment from that data. So we'll look to establish another 5-minute higher low on SPY when we consolidate here with the upper wick that's forming. Notice WEED not hitting a new high of the day with market strength on that last little push. But NVDA bulls certainly benefited. A little bearish reversal, shooting star or gravestone doji on the 5-minute time frame, but still healthy as long as the 5-minute higher lows are maintained. And just like that, the biotech bulls now up 1.7%. Big time turnaround. Individual biotech names certainly benefiting. Checking XBI on the daily time frame. Bull break of the daily inside bar was 89.59 and well over a 1% follow through from that break already. Next resistance on the daily chart is 92.29. But we have now seen a 10% bounce from the lows 3 days ago in the biotech sector, which is a 30% bounce in LABU. ICPT, nice bullish continuation. Daily chart has its higher low now. Now we have to break 55.47 for a daily little higher low and higher high to start to shift some momentum. So all about 55.47 resistance. And it's a bullish engulfing candlestick on the daily. So SPY bulls still holding strong on the 5-minute time frame. Not a whole lot of consolidation just yet from the most recent bull break we saw. So this is definitely a surprising amount of strength for the bulls to hold the low of yesterday after this all-out dump. And again, that's the most bearish reaction I've seen to pre-market data on SPY in as long as I can remember, where we dumped $4, more than that, in 5 minutes. But a big-time oversold bounce. But again, I'm still not ruling out the equilibrium pattern, which I would definitely expect to happen on a volatile move of this size, meaning we have the all-out dump on the 5-minute time frame. We set a lower high compared to where we came from at the start of the dump. We pull back and have to form a higher low on the daily, and we watch that longer-term equilibrium play out into the afternoon. But at this point, the bulls are still strong and up at that high. And again, the key resistance that I'm looking at and anticipating a lower high compared to is 267.40 to form this longer-term equilibrium pattern. If we just see a V-shaped recovery and go straight to breaking 267.40, that will be extremely significant. Netflix bulls still very, very strong. They were already positioned well thanks to bullish news and upgrades, and the market strength is only helping. 5-minute higher low established at 263.48. We're at the high of the day, and the key daily resistance is 272.45. So still some work to do, but nice follow through so far, and definitely a lead tech bull, the lead tech bull this morning with a 3.5% gain. You gotta love the no voice comment after giving the voice analysis. So here go these SPY bulls. 267.40 is the level. 20 minutes of straight upside with a lack of consolidation from the upper 264s. We are definitely overextended on the 5-minute time frame, so I would be keeping an eye out for a top fishing play with 267.40 resistance. And actually it's 267, the high pre-market is 267.45, and there's a lot of resistances at that level. JCP, the key resistance on the daily time frame was 362, and then looking up at 373. 5-minute higher low is 359. So SPY bulls certainly proving themselves more than I thought they could from the open, with only 2 5-minute red candlesticks since the bell rang. Biotech sector now up over 2%. And what the daily inside bar bull break tells us for SPY is that the bulls are not done just yet from this bounce. This is the 4th recovery day in a row from the low of the dump. BMW is extremely bullish, still holding on, have not consolidated its 5-minute exponential support the entire morning. So we are due for some healthy 5-minute consolidation with the RSI over 80. But there's little resistance where we stand right now. The next resistance is moving averages, the 50 and the middle Bollinger Band, both in the 125s. And then the previous price level of resistance is 129.34. Bitcoin bulls heading up to the high of this morning after establishing a 15-minute higher low of support. And the Litecoin bulls trying to make their way back towards the high as well, as is Ethereum. Ethereum pulled back fairly significantly from its high. So it has work to do to get to a higher high, more work than Bitcoin has. So a battle to be watching for SPY at key resistance up here. So SPY rejecting from resistance by about 8 cents. And now pulling back. So that was the top fishing play where you exit if 267.45 breaks. And we're just looking for another 5-minute higher low to be established. So SPY current support now is 266.57. That's the low of this current consolidation. We'll see if the bulls are able to hold that level. Facebook, very significant follow through correlating with SPY. High of the bounce on the daily at this point is 177.54. So key resistance test approaching for Facebook, and that would give us a little daily higher low and higher high if we can break 177.54. So SPY, all that resistance is from pre-market. So look at the pre-market level on SPY, and I can see highs at 267.45, 267.40, 43, and then right before the dump, when the data came out, 267.40 was the high again. So it's all the pre-market tops. OSTK on the daily time frame, next resistance, key level, two key levels, 60.24 and 60.80. So here the SPY bulls, very brief consolidation and testing this resistance again, so they're certainly not done just yet. So still rejecting from resistance on SPY. It's going to be a battle up at this level this morning. And if we see a break, we have a range right now, a little mini range. If we break 266.57, we know consolidation is not done. It's all about 266.57 and 267.45. SPSX definitely doesn't have options. If you're going to play options, I suggest just playing SPY itself. It's definitely a different strategy. The gains will be the higher risk and higher reward playing options, but also the factor of time, which is why I just love the common shares. Keeping it simple and taking out that extra factor of time and time decay and market makers and bid and ask spreads and all of that, which is why I do prefer the common shares. So if you're trading the ETFs, it's definitely common shares. And if you want to trade options, I would just go with SPY options. It's also a potential SPY 5-minute bull flag, so we can't disregard that as well. So big time oil bull reaction. Nice bottom fishing play, held support by 10 cents, and now we're taking a big time bull move to the upside. So that's a good sign for the oil bulls. We now have a higher low on the daily, and the bulls are looking up at resistance. 59.43, 59.71, the first two levels. HXT.TO. So still tight. The high of yesterday, 31.48, has not broken yet. So certainly not as strong as SPY itself at this point. So resistance is 31.48, 31.57, and the 5-minute higher low of support is 31.33. "30 minutes is a long time on oil. Usually I wait 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, we can get a general idea in terms of the direction of the reaction. But in a setup like today, being right near a key support, that's the kind of setup where I would even get in before the inventory report. That's the only time I would get in before an inventory report, when we have a very clear level to be using, a very clear stop level, and it's a bottom fishing setup. But it's definitely a bull reaction at this point. Doesn't mean we can't consolidate back down into the upper $58 range. But a bull reaction is definitely what we've got. NDM.TO down at the low of the day. Support is 132 and 123, and resistance is 145 and 146. So it is still an equilibrium pattern on the daily time frame as long as 123 does hold, and I would expect that level to hold on the initial test just because there's no volume. So if not already in a position, I personally would probably wait for a clear equilibrium daily break before initiating one. Ethereum is a double top right now at 900, so it is not breaking out. It's close, but not yet. Lower highs on the 15-minute time frame on all of the big three in crypto. No trouble with trading view charts freezing for me. And we have the SPY bulls testing resistance again. And you could use the 2-minute time frame to get a closer view as the bulls are testing 267.40 and 45 resistances. Waiting for a little bit more of a convincing break at this point. Only breaking by a couple pennies won't do it. But it is impressive that the bulls are still up at this level on this V-shaped recovery from pre-market. And the next resistance that we're going to be looking at on SPY is going to be up at 268.17. And the new 5-minute higher low on SPY is at 266.41. So again, a very clear 5-minute higher low pattern all morning since the dump low. And it'll be very clear if that 5-minute higher low pattern breaks at any point today. But the bulls definitely have control. And again, the fact that we saw this V-shaped recovery and the break of resistance all in one go is very notable for the strength that was required to see that kind of recovery. Twitter bulls strong, seeing healthy 5-minute consolidation, back testing the 100 period moving average. All about the high of yesterday, 33.65. Resistance still has not broken. So we do have a double top with the high of today and the high of yesterday. Support on the 5-minute is 33.32. So I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam here. It'll be very clear for SPY when we shift momentum from the bulls. As of right now, it is all bulls. And we will certainly be pointing out if and when the 5-minute higher low pattern is broken. But until then, we will be looking for higher lows to continue on periods of consolidation. So we broke resistance by 13 cents. That's enough to call it a bull break, but obviously not a ton of follow through, and that's because the bulls are a bit extended from the lows of this morning. And now is when I check my account and hope that I forgot to sell all of my SPXL from the bottom this morning. And that's not the case. So I hope you all have a good rest of your morning. I'll be back in 15 minutes to continue coverage in the chat room. Biotech bulls still holding on strong. Netflix up over 4% now. NVDA staying as a lead bull. And this bounce isn't done yet. The SPY bulls, 4th day in a row of this bounce. Keeping in mind that we are not breaking the lower highs yet still on SPY. The high of the last bounce attempt is the key level up at 270.236. Anything under that level is a lower high. But the bounce is not done yet. Thanks again. See you soon.